Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I want to start off with first just saying sorry for the brief hiatus that I've had for my channel. My family and I have been pretty much traveling off and on for the last month, and one, I wanted to take advantage of the time that I had with my family, but second of all, I really just didn't have the time, the location, or the resources to really prepare any videos while we were out and about and while we were away from our home. But I hope to be able to answer some more questions for you guys, as well as just covering some other tips and tricks that might be helpful, or just some common reminders for you guys as you are in your homeschool journey. And honestly, that kind of starts with today. Today, I just wanted to share with you guys about this idea that I've seen and that I have heard of firsthand from some friends and some just different people who are new to this homeschooling journey, about this idea of falling behind. So you're probably like 2 to 3 months into the school year, depending on when you started. And a lot of times this is about the time, we're kind of out of that honeymoon phase of where we started. Things are fun, things are exciting, things have had an opportunity to come up in your homeschool. And now, there's a lot of this talk of, I'm falling behind. And I just wanted to talk about that today. Because maybe you like to map out your entire school year. Maybe you've mapped out the entire year, or maybe you did it at a quarter at a time, or a semester at a time, or even a couple of months, and you've mapped it all out. And then unfortunately things have just come up, right? We have doctor's appointments, we have sick days, we have play dates with friends, or really nice weather that you feel like you want to take advantage of. Or if you're like our family, you decide to vacation right after, only having started school for 2 or 3 weeks. So things come up, right? And maybe you are starting to feel like you're behind. On the flip side, maybe you are a new homeschooler. This is the first year where you are embarking on this homeschool journey, and you feel like maybe the curriculum you've chosen, or the curriculum that you're using, even if you really like it, maybe just isn't moving at the same speed as maybe the public school that maybe your neighbors' kids are using, or the things that you're hearing that the local schools are doing. And so you have this nagging feeling that maybe your kid is falling behind their peers, or they're falling behind what they would be doing in a traditional school setting. But I want to stop you right there, and I want to tell you something. Your homeschool, nor your child, they are not behind. You are exactly right where you need to be. To start off, I am just not a huge fan of the term falling behind. First off, falling behind whom, right? Who is your child behind? Are we now in the place where we're comparing our kids to somebody else? They're not behind anyone else. We have to first recognize that our kids learn at different speeds, right? If you are a parent of more than one child, you know this to be true. None of your kids walked on the same time frame, crawled at the same time frame, or did any of those milestones at the exact same time. Kids learn and advance at different speeds. That's just a fact of life. So why would we expect in a school setting that all of the kids are going to learn and do things at the exact same time? This idea of falling behind assumes that all kids learn and progress at the same speed and at the same pace as all the other kids in their class. So those are just some reasons why I'm just not a huge fan personally of this idea of that my kid is falling behind. They're not falling behind another child, and I just have to recognize that things click at different rates for all of my kids. I have personally seen this to be true because I have kids who have read early, and I have kids who are still struggling to read, who probably by a traditional school standard should already be reading pretty well at this point. But our kids just don't develop in a very perfect sequence, right? Now, with all that said, maybe you just aren't where you planned to be, or where you would like to be for your personal calendar and the schedule and the things that you have planned for you and your family. Now, if the reason that you're falling behind, or not where you plan to be, is because you've needed extra time for your child to grasp a concept, to truly understand everything, this is okay. don't fret this. Just really focus on this concept of mastery. Don't push them to just keep up with this schedule and move on, next lesson and next lesson. Just really wait until they grasp that concept, and then you move on. And if it takes 2 or 3 days to do a math lesson before you can move on to the next one, that's okay. You're really focusing on understanding the concept, not keeping up with some schedule or some, preset calendar that was made for you in your curriculum. On the other hand, if you've fallen behind because of things that have come up in your own homeschool, whether it was a sickness or a day that you have taken to go and take advantage of the good weather, or it's just, a particular bad attitude day where, you had to throw in the towel and step away from school altogether. If it's because of that, just take it one day at a time. It's like the old saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So in the same way, you just are going to take this one day at a time. Now, there are plenty of options and ways to do it, and I just want to share a couple that we have personally taken advantage of and others that I've heard of other people and other families using. So one, I've told you that we like to travel and we like to vacation during the school year, but we don't like to take our work with us. And other times, if it's because I want to be finished at a certain date, we have been known to do some double days of school. It is not particularly fun for my kids. They don't particularly like it, but it is an option and they kind of understand the benefit of doing so. So there have been a couple of days a week as leading up to our vacation where we might do one day, we might do 2 math lessons, and the next day we might do 2 language lessons. And then the next week we might do the same. So by doing that, I'm making up a couple of days that we're going to be gone for a trip in the future. You could also do that when you got back, or you could even use Saturday and Sunday. There is nothing when you're talking about a personal homeschool saying that you can't use Saturday and Sunday to do school. In fact, I have a friend whose husband works and their weekend is actually a Tuesday and a Wednesday. His schedule, the way he works, is that's their weekend. And so for them, they're always doing schoolwork on a Saturday and Sunday because that's not their quote, weekend. They're taking Tuesday and Wednesday off. So when you have your own homeschool, you have the benefit to do whatever you want and whatever's going to work for your family. Another option to consider is that you don't have to adhere to the standard school calendar. You don't have to start school in August and end in May. Maybe you are going to start in, early August and continue all the way maybe till mid-June if you need to. You don't have to adhere to it. Maybe you want to take less time off during a certain holiday season. Maybe you want to work a little more at certain times and not take as long of a break. Or maybe you need a break sometimes, so you're going to work a little bit more in the summer. You really do have the flexibility to determine when you start and when you're stopped. You can work out your own calendar of how that's going to work for you and your family based on the needs of your travel or whatever the different things that you're going to be doing. The other aspect of that is that you don't have to adhere to the traditional school system as far as what if you finish your curriculum, maybe you're doing a first grade curriculum and you finish it in April. Well, you don't even necessarily have to wait until the following school year to start the second grade material. You can just immediately have that ready and pick it up the very next day, and all of a sudden you're in your second grade material. The same is true as if you have, fallen behind, again, using those terms that I don't like, but maybe you're not where you want to be. You're not behind, but according to the traditional school setting, that's what we're going to say, falling behind. So maybe you haven't finished it up until the end of the school year, and you need to work in it when you start your next school year, and that's totally okay. Finish your first grade material in September or October, and then all of a sudden, the very next day, you're in your second grade material. It really doesn't have to fit the September to May or August to May schedule or calendar. You can really make it work however it's going to work for you and your family. So here are just some practical tips, some practical advice. One, your kid is not behind, okay? So they're not behind, but you just need to go at their pace. That's the beauty of homeschool, guys. You can fast forward where you can fast forward. You can push the pause button and slow down where you need to. There's nothing stopping you. In fact, it always reminds me of this verse that's found in Genesis, and I wanted to read it to you. It's Genesis 33, 14. A small piece of the verse says, "And at the pace of the children." So this was Jacob talking to Esau upon his return, and they were all going back to where Esau was going. And Jacob says, "You go on ahead. I'm going to go at the pace of the children." I think sometimes we just need to give ourselves some grace and remind ourselves to let go of some of these goals that we have set, and we need to go at the pace of the children. It also reminds me of one of the things that Sarah Mackenzie says in her book, Teaching from Rest, that we need to remember that our children are not projects to be managed, but they are souls to be cultivated. Let's remember that our children are not projects to be managed, but souls to be cultivated. Second, we need to forget about the benchmarks. We need to understand that our kids do not always learn at the same speed as another child. Again, if you have multiple kids, you already know this to be true. One kid will learn something maybe much quicker than the other one. So forget about those benchmarks, just throw them out the window. Number 3 is just plan 1 to 2 weeks at a time. If you're not planning that far in advance, you don't ever have to worry about quote unquote falling behind, because you're only planning for that current week. And you can usually know as well as you can that, what you have planned for the week. So you can either plan in some play dates, some random rest days, or you can just plan the entire week out, and you're not going to fall behind. Now, if it is too stress-inducing for you because you're not exactly where you want to be, number 4 is take advantage of some of the flexibility that homeschooling allows you. Do some double days, do some work on the weekend. Just go ahead and plan to do a little bit of work through the summer. There are a lot of homeschools that already homeschool throughout the summer. It might be a little bit of a lighter work, and they're still taking breaks during the summer, but you have that flexibility. So if you feel like you need to be at a certain area and you're not on target, go ahead and take a couple of steps to adjust and to get you to where you want to be. And lastly, just remember, you're not behind. Just do the very next thing and just take it one day at a time. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope that you found this video to be encouraging. That was truly my honest goal, is that I don't want anyone to feel that they're behind or that their child is behind. Just move at their pace, make some goals, and don't beat yourself over the head when you're not exactly where you want to be. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. And until next time, have a blessed day.